Simba. He's that good little boy. My experience sucking ass lately. Joel was giving me all these experiences because he always likes to put horses in my experience. Okay, so like this morning I had two good experiences. It's so funny because Joel like put me back in the same sort of like the same big huge apartment building. It was really weird. So the first experience, and I don't know why I keep getting these scenarios that kind of they're very vivid and everything, and they're blasts, but then they're too freaking hard to remember. So it really sucks because I hate getting ones like that. Right? I don't know why he keeps giving them to me like that lately, but I don't know. I don't know if it's me or if it's him. You know, where they're kind of like in the deeper dream state, or they're kind of more artificial, I guess, and they're just harder to remember all the details. But they both were fun, and they both were still very vivid and everything, but still kind of more in the deeper dream state, I guess, or more artificially. So then they're kind of harder to remember. But yeah, okay, so the first experience. Well, what was that? OBE VR lucid dream. I thought I sounded like Woody Woodpecker. Well, why is that, Simba? Oh, here's Simba. Simba, look, baby. Simba, look. Simba. Cutie pie. Yeah, so the first experience I was in a, oh man, I would say about 8th-story on the 8th floor apartment building, and let's see, like a male friend was with me, and it's like we were looking for apartments for him, and then there was like a man like walking around the kitchen, like we were looking around the kitchen, and and I felt like he was like a maintenance man, but he also, I guess, rented the apartments, and so I started looking at the kitchen, and over to the left, like my friend was over to the right, and he was a familiar person. The maintenance man was over to the right, and or, you know, the leaser person that leased the apartment, and or maintenance man was over to the right, and I started honing in on all the appliances and stuff, and over to the left was like a pearly white. It was like a really old, like all of the appliances were like old, but they were like all immaculate and like brand new. I mean, never been used. They were really, really old appliances. And I don't know, it looked like it could have been, you know, I don't know, like 50 or 60 years old. And I was like, oh yeah, I like that, blah, 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 blah. But I was just kidding. I didn't really mean that, because I was like, wow, like I was thinking in my head in the scenario, all of these appliances are like old, but they were like immaculate and like never been used, like in perfect condition. I mean, they were still like brand new, even though they were old. And the kitchen was probably about as, it was probably double size of mine in the scenario, but it wasn't like super huge. But yeah, so it was about that big, and just like I was just helping him like get an apartment, and we were on like the 8th floor, and then the second part of the scenario, we went down to the lower level and went outside and started walking all up and down the, the sidewalks, and that was fun and beautiful and vivid, and over to the right, over to the left it was pretty, it was like all trees and stuff like that, and I don't know, it was just like beautiful. In real life it really wouldn't be like that if you tried to rent an apartment, you know what I mean? There wouldn't be all trees and stuff. It was kind of like, okay, it almost seemed like it was kind of like in the woods, kind of, or in a nature area, you know what I mean? This big old apartment building. Like, I'm so sure you're gonna go rent, 8-story. Now, I don't know how many stories the building was, but I felt like it was probably, I don't know, like the 8th floor could have maybe been the highest. But like, there's not gonna be no apartment building in the woods, you know what I mean? But that's what it almost seemed like in the scenario. Okay, and I know I'm forgetting a lot of freaking ass shit too. Well, maybe not a lot, but okay, so and like I say, it lasted a lot longer though than what I'm saying. But yeah, the refrigerator was like so cool, like almost like you could get like old appliances and you could like renovate them or restore them. Well, I know where Joel could have got that from my neighbor a long time ago, because he used to do that to Coca-Cola machines or whatever, or Pepsi machines, refrigerators and stuff. But in the scenario, it was just kind of like, it didn't seem like it was anything restored. I mean, it was just like freaking never ever been used, in immaculate condition, even though it was really really old. But yeah, so okay, so then I woke up, and then I think I went to the bathroom, and that was the first time all night. And I did look at the clock, and it was like 4:30. And I went to bed at about 10:30. I probably didn't go to sleep till about 10:45. And then of course, I had insomnia real bad. I couldn't get back to sleep at 4:30 a.m. So then I was asking Joel, to give me another good experience or whatever. And what I was asking, he likes taking me to mansions and stuff, and he hasn't really taken me to a mansion in a while. So he decided, apartment building, a big old apartment building. Okay, so I did finally fall asleep the second time around, but I don't know what time that was. And then, so I have this other long drawn out scenario, and it was very similar to the first one. It's like I was back in that same, 8th floor apartment building. Oh yeah, all this other details coming back to me. That's why I gotta hurry up and talk about these experiences, because, man, you forget like more than half of it when you wake up. Which is bullcrap, because I never forget my experiences. But, yeah, thank God the other part came back to me. And this morning, too, another part came back to me, because I was like, God damn it, it's all fading away, Okay, so the second part of the experience, I was back in that 8th floor apartment building. And then Joel this time kind of leads me to believe that I'm in Germany. And so there was I can't remember if it was the same man or not, but there was like a maintenance man like walking around, and I can't remember if we were in the kitchen. I guess we were back in the kitchen. I don't know. We were in some room of the apartment on the 8th floor building again, and I was like, we really aren't in Germany, are we? And he said no, and I said, I'm really not dreaming, am I? And he said, no. And because Joel was leading me to believe that I was in Germany, and was leading me to believe, that I was dreaming. And so I asked him, wait a minute. I thought I was, he led me to believe that I wasn't dreaming. Yeah. Joe led me to believe that I was in Germany at that point, that second scenario, even though he wasn't speaking German or anything, the maintenance man. And so I said, are we really in Germany? And he said no, and I said, what did I say? I really am dreaming. And he said, yes. But Joel was leading me to believe that, number one, I was in Germany, and that, number two, that I wasn't really dreaming. But I knew I was. Yeah, I think I said it backwards the first time around. So that part was kind of cool, because I remember, even in the scenario, I remember thinking like, wow, I got to remember all this so I can talk about it in a video. I was thinking all of that, and under the scenario. And that part, almost, I forgot. Right when I woke up, I almost forgot, but it came back to me. And this other part, I had just forgot, and it just came back to me. This other part of the second scenario. Okay, so another part of the scenario, I went over to another room that had a little bitty square. This was all in the same apartment, and it was pretty big. So anyway, I wasn't really in Germany, and I was, really dreaming. But Joe led me to believe I wasn't dreaming, and that I was like in Germany. And it was kind of cool. But okay, so over to the left, I went over to another small room with a square window, and I looked down, and I'm like, wow. And like I said, all I saw was like nature, like trees and a stream, and leaves, and like there was a few flowers and stuff. It was pretty, and I was like 8 stories high, and there was water in the stream, and I was like, it was real vivid and everything. And I remember thinking, wow, because I knew I was dreaming, but Joe was leading me to believe that I wasn't dreaming. And so I was thinking to myself, man, I just wanted to like jump over, because I knew nothing would really hurt me since I knew I was dreaming. I wanted to jump so bad, jump out the window. And if you jump 8 stories, you're probably going to die, because that's pretty high. And but anyway, I did it. But this, I probably couldn't have, even if I wanted to, because Joe was probably, controlling all of that. I wish he would have made me jump though, man. Cause I haven't had, when I was younger, I used to have all these falling dreams and shit. But I had one where he made me jump off like a big old building. Well, several years ago, I did have one, 2013, 2014, over there by IHOP. And that was a blast, man. But I'll have to ask him to give me experiences like that. But I wanted to jump so bad because I knew I was dreaming, so I knew I wouldn't hurt myself. But Joel didn't let me jump out the window. But it was real vivid, the beautiful stream and everything. There easily could have been turtles and shit down there. It was very beautiful. And trees all around. Okay, so that was the other part of the scenario. But there's one thing that I forgot, and I still can't remember. There's something specific that I was seeing. And because I remember thinking, okay, I can't forget about this because I want to talk about it in a video. Well, I know there was something else that I saw, and it wasn't just, the stream and everything. It was something more specific. And I forgot, I don't know what it was, but maybe that'll come back to me eventually. But okay, so there was that part where I talked about the if I really was in Germany and everything, which I wasn't, and if I was, and I knew that I really was dreaming when Joel acted like I really wasn't dreaming. And then, okay, here's the other part of the scenario that I just about forgot too. And like I said, both these experiences were really fun, and they were a lot, longer than what I'm talking about. But okay, so the second part of the scenario, I looked outside again. I went over there to that window, and I looked up at the clouds. And, okay, here's another part that came back to me. There was, the clouds that started looking tornadic. And then all of a sudden, I started hearing that tornado siren noise that I just had on that music video, on one of my other videos or whatever. And yeah, that part just came back to me. I heard that noise, the tornado siren. And maybe that was it. That may have been it. I don't know. Maybe that was it that I knew that I didn't want to forget so I could talk about it. Because that was like virtual reality, a virtual reality part, whenever you smell something or you taste something, you hear music, that's all virtual reality. Well, the whole thing was virtual reality, but just more lucid dreaming. More in maybe an artificial not like totally, it didn't feel like totally 3D virtual reality, more in an artificial state, you know, but it still all felt very real. Yeah, so then I start hearing the tornado siren. And then, as far as I remember, I started seeing the, you know, all the trees like swaying back and forth and shit. And then it like started raining real bad. And then eventually we made me and that maintenance man or whatever, we like made our way back to the bottom floor. But yeah, that was kind of cool. It was, there was actually an actual tornado that came up a little later in the scenario. So that was cool. And the clouds, you know, that was kind of cool. All the clouds were like dark and gray. And that's not the first tornado, you know, experience that Joel has given me. He's given me many virtual reality tornado kind of experiences. But yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of forgetting. I mean, it's still getting all fuzzy and shit. I mean, at least I remembered all that part. But I'm sure there's still a few pieces that I'm forgetting. And I remember talking too, you know, when we were walking down, the first scenario, when we were walking down the sidewalks and stuff through the little nature right there, the sidewalks, you know, of the apartment, the trails almost, they almost were like trails or whatever, like going around, you know, walking around the nature center or whatever. And I remember, you know, having some conversations and stuff, like with the other guy and the maintenance man, but I can't remember what I said or whatever. But they both were fun, man. It's just, I'm getting a lot of these scenarios where it's real hard to remember everything when I wake up. And I don't know if it's just me or what. But that's pretty fun. Cause see, already before this video, I almost forgot about the tornado noise. And the, it was exactly like the sirens, you know, exactly like that video too that had that tornado noise in it. Tornado warning noise in it. That other video. But yeah, see, I almost forgot all that. But anyway, so then I had a few others. No, both of those scenarios were this morning, but I had a couple others the other day, which were kind of fun. Let's see. But yeah, it was cool. It was exactly like the tornado siren. I don't know if I could bring up that other video. The store, it's on that store one, the grocery store. Grocers, what's it called? Natural Grocers. But yeah, so that was cool. But anyway, so I was in a scenario where I was shopping. Well, first me and my sister were like shopping at Price Cutter. It lasted forever and ever and ever. And I was trying to find my sweet plantain chips. Well, they didn't have any. So me and my sister, we like, I can't remember if we walked over or whatever, but the next thing I know, we're in CVS. And me and my sister walking around CVS forever and ever, and I'm meticulously, you know, going down every aisle, you know, honing in on all the bags of chips and shit. This was all very vivid too. I meticulously walked down every aisle, and like I said, all these scenarios are very vivid, even though sometimes they're hard to remember. I stared at a lot of bags of chips, etc., and I did finally find the, oh, no, I remember. Okay, so we went to, let's see, CVS, my sister was there, and I was telling her they should have. Oh yeah, okay. So I was shopping at Price Cutter to try to find some sweet plantain chips. They didn't have any, so eventually we went to CVS, and my sister was there with me, and I was telling her that they should have them there at CVS. And I was meticulously walking down every aisle, and like I say, both these scenarios lasted a long time too, and were both very vivid, and I eventually found the sweet plantains at the CVS store. And that was fun. That was another scenario, and that lasted quite a while too. And let's see, warehouse, horse brands, 2 pools of water. Oh yeah, I wouldn't have remembered this if I wouldn't have wrote it down. DMV driving around, just walking around. Okay, so anyway, so then I had this other experience where I was walking around this hospital, and I've had many experiences where I'm walking around a hospital too, and they're normally like pretty fun. Like I remember this one experience, I was walking around forever and ever and ever, and it was such a, and I hate fucking going into hospitals, man. But under these other realities, they're a blast, man. And it was lasted forever, hours and hours. This was many years ago. And but I was in this big old hospital walking around, and I went to the chow hall area, big old cafeteria area and shit, and it was a freaking blast. And like, man, I fucking hate going to hospitals in this reality, you know what I'm saying? But in that reality, it's such a blast. So in this scenario, I was walking around the hospital, and I walked into a room that was really big and really creepy. The walls were very beautiful, though. They were light blue, and the floor was light blue. Well, I know where Joel got that from, because we're painting our work building, blue on the inside or whatever. And the ceilings were pretty dang high. There was one tiny bed in the far... I was kind of standing catty corner. There was one tiny bed, a twin bed, in the far right corner, catty corner to where I was standing. And over to the left were the windows where they were very small, with small whitish curtains. And I was thinking, wow, those are like gel windows. But the thing is, I couldn't really see through the curtains, but I somehow knew that they were kind of little, I somehow knew that room was reserved for I somehow knew that room was reserved for a mental patient. But anyway, I somehow knew those windows were kind of little, even though I couldn't really see through the white curtains, or I somehow could see through them, even though I couldn't see through them. Okay, so the whole time I was staring at the room, I was thinking, wow, this had horrid energy, drab energy, kind of like as if it was an insane asylum, instead of a hospital. That whole room felt more like an insane asylum room. Okay, I walked to the snack area, and okay, this is funny. I eventually walked to where the snack area was. I went out of the room and everything and went to the snack area, and I ate a plate of rice and chicken. And that's kind of funny, because in real life, I'm allergic to both of those. This was funny, but I left it sitting there too long. Then when I went back to eat it, the rice was hard and dried up, kind of like how some pieces you get, when you microwave a rice TV dinner, but all the rice was like that. It looked like hard instant rice or something like that, like without putting water in it or something. But I was sitting there eating it, I could taste it and everything. And in real life, I'm allergic to chicken and rice. I'm not allergic to eggs, though. I hate fucking eggs, but I ate them this morning just to get rid of them, because I bought a lot of eggs. And they're already expired, but they're fine. I think they expired on October 25th, but they're still fine. I smelled them, and they're still fine, but I just ate them because I'm trying to get rid of them. But I'm not allergic to eggs, but I am allergic to chicken and turkey. I don't know if I'm allergic to pork or not, because I haven't eaten pork in over 2 years. I don't know if I became allergic to pork or not. But I kind of eat a lot of beef. Sometimes 3 times a day, but sometimes I could get away with eating it once or twice a day. But anyway, okay, so I started to walk down several more halls, and I observed the patients. I was observing the patients and the equipment and medical staff. And eventually I walked out of the hospital, which was attached, it was attached to a mall, which was attached. And I saw tons of people walking around. Once I went over to the mall area, and there were some little steps. I walked down some little steps that, led into the mall, like 4 or 5 steps. And like I say, then boom, there was tons of people walking around. There wasn't tons of people walking around the hospital. So I walked down some steps, and a couple nurses, they were walking beside me, and they're like, why do you have those weird socks on? I told them I always wear my socks like that. Joe was, okay, so basically all through the hospital, I was wearing three kind of bunched up pairs of socks. But I don't necessarily remember, in the hospital, the socks, but I only remember when I went out of the hospital into the mall, and the nurses were like, why are you in those 3 pairs of socks or whatever? And I told them I always wear my socks like that. So basically I was walking around with socks on. Joe makes me walk around in socks or barefoot lots of times in the scenarios. So Joel was trying to copy off the fact that, recently, the day before, I did have 3 pairs of socks on. Before that experience, I had my little skinny pair, and then I put on 2 thick pairs. So I did have 3 pairs of socks on before this experience. So in the experience, Joel, had me put, created it where I still had those 3, and they were bunched up too, because I was walking around. Even now, they're all kind of bunched up, because 2 pairs are really, really thick, and the first pair is really thin. Okay, so that was kind of funny. So anyway, Joel was trying to copy off that I did have 3 pairs of socks on before this experience. I was walking around the house with 1 thin pair on and 2 thick pairs of longer socks, in real life before this experience. Then after that part, boom, I was back in that room staring at the bed again. I was staring at the bed again, where the insane asylum person should have been, but there was no patient there for now. Okay, so then I abruptly woke up, but Joel did something kind of sexual, but it was kind of weird. I can't really explain it, but it was kind of more mentally sexual. It was kind of weird. Like it kind of was like a thought process or whatever. But anyway, it was still cool. Okay, so, well, bag of chips. Okay, so I'm going to try to make my own sweet plantain chips here in a second. Well, crap, now it's kind of warm outside, now I'm going to have to heat the oven up. Well, if I wait till later, then it'll get a little cool inside. Because I need to heat the oven up to about 400. About, I don't know, maybe 8 minutes on each side. I was going to try to make some sweet plantains and some sweet potato chips in the oven, but I don't know how they're going to turn out. I was going to try to put some coconut oil, a little bit coconut oil, either on one side or both sides. That's going to take time, though, kind of rub it down each chip. I'll probably just wash my hands real good and use my finger and just kind of rub on each side, a little bit of coconut oil on each side. But I was going to try to make them in the oven, but I don't know if I'm going to like them in the oven. I mean, they were delicious when I deep fried them, but I don't know. I gotta find some refined coconut oil, and then I gotta get a fryer or something, because I couldn't get the heat higher than 210 degrees. That damn unrefined coconut oil, it would not go above 210 degrees. It's kind of weird. But okay, so then, yeah, see, Joel gives me some of these experiences, and then for a long time I wasn't really sure if it was him, because they would be totally non-sexual and everything, but now I realize a lot of those experiences he gave them to me, because he put horses in this one scenario, and he's always putting horses in the scenarios. Like that one experience, I stole that little knick-knack horse, and then to the blue igloo, like I wasn't sure he was giving me that experience, and now I know he gave me that experience, because there was a horse trolloping in thin air, that hologram thing, and the blue igloo. And this scenario, there was horse stables. So I know Joel has been giving me all these damn experiences. I mean, I know there's been a few, though, in the past where it wasn't him, but most of them are all by him. Because that one experience of Romania, well, maybe it was a little bit of both. It could have been him and another reptilian, but because that reptilian showed himself to me in that mirror, and that was not Joel. But like I say, it could have been both of them giving me that experience. That one to Romania, or no, that was I can't remember if it was that one or that England one. But okay, so basically, this other scenario. Okay, this was October 28th. Okay, I was in this. It's almost like Joel was trying to copy off, almost like I was at Dixie Stampede. I think it's almost like he was trying to copy off of that. I was at this facility, but Joel didn't really tell me where I was at, but it was almost kind of like I was at Dixie Stampede, but it was nothing like that. Okay, and I was in Branson. And, so I was standing there in the first room. There was a pool, like this, not like a normal pool. It was like a dirt bottom pool, because the water, was black. And, but that was a pool for normal people. That was a swimming pool for normal people. The second pool was for the horses. But so I was standing there in Branson, in this room, in this facility, kind of like Dixie Stampede. And so there was a few people like walking around, some women and their children, because you know that we all were about to go swimming. And there was like 9 guys lined up, and some of them were like Hispanic, and they were like maintenance people, like they were getting ready to work on the facility. And I remember thinking, like, I know this is kind of funny, but I remember thinking, I was looking at them, I was thinking in my head, well, they don't look too redneckish or whatever. And but they would get ready to like you know, like do maintenance work and stuff. Oh, and there was this other I may have wrote it down. No, I didn't write it down here, but there was it just came back to me. There was this other thought process too, because I was like, because Joel knew I mean, because because they were renovating the place where I'm working at in real life. And I remember, having all these thoughts like, wow, they got it all done pretty fast and blah, 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 blah. So in the scenario, like, I knew they were going to do all this work, like, pretty fast, all those maintenance people. Whatever work they were going to do, it seemed like they had to do some electrical work and some other work. But I knew I don't know, some of them were kind of like hillbillies, some of them were kind of like Hispanic. But anyway, they all looked pretty nice or whatever. And they were kind of standing over there. Okay, and then, and I never did go swimming, but I wanted to because I was about to. And then I ended up I walked over to the other pool, over to the right. It was that room was hooked onto another room where there was another dirt bottom pool with a horse stable. The horse stables were on the left. And then my mom showed up in the scenario. My mom was with me, and I wanted to go swimming, and I started to look at the horses and the horse stable and everything, and I was like, the reason why I wanted to go swimming in that pool, because I had it all to myself, and I didn't have to swim with other people. And I looked at what I had on, and I had on this real skimpy shit. I almost felt naked. I felt very naked, and I just had, it almost just seemed like I just had like underwear on or whatever. And like real skimpy top, and I was like, so that's why I didn't really want to swim in that other pool. So I went over to the other pool, and then I looked at the horse stables, and then I looked at the water, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't swim in the water because those horses could be shitting and pissing in it. And I was thinking all that under the scenario. It was a horse stable. It looked exactly like this too, pretty much, with 4 or 5 horses lined up, and they were still in the stables. And then over to the right was the second pool. And like I say, these pools weren't normal swimming pools. They just looked almost like a pond or something. Almost like an indoor pond. But it still had all the dirt and all that shit, in the bottom of the pond. And so I wanted to swim in it so bad, and I never did. I wanted to jump in so bad. And then I started thinking, I probably can't swim in it because those horses it's for the horses to piss and shit in. And so I never did jump into the pool, but I wanted to so bad. And like I say, that's the reason why I wanted to swim in that second pool, because I knew I'd have more privacy. And Joe made me feel like I was all naked and shit. I barely had anything on or whatever. And well, because Joel knows in real life, I never really like wearing like a normal what do you call it? Swimsuit or whatever. He knew I never really like wearing normal swimsuits. He's just trying to copy off of that. But okay, so hold on. So okay, so now I can't remember if this came before or after, because it almost seemed like it came after the experience, but it would make more sense if it came before what I just talked to you about. But okay, so we'll pretend like it just came before, and then I ended up, at the Dixie Stampede, so to speak. Okay, so I wasn't driving. There was another guy. There was a friend that was driving, like a male friend that was familiar to me. And all of a sudden, we started driving around a big curve. Like looking at, and over to the right was like all this water. I guess it was an ocean. I don't know what it was, or if it was a big lake. And it was all very vivid. And then all of a sudden, there was a lot of tiny, small RVs, just bam, 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 bam. Like there was about 6 or 7 of them, and they were just like a few feet away from the water. And I was just like, wow, you know. And I remember that guy said something to me like, oh yeah, like this is pretty normal to have all these people to camp out right here like this, like that was all normal and stuff. Because I think I said something like, oh, like that's kind of cool or whatever. And I was like, can they just park the RV like that there, I was saying stuff like that, and he was like, oh yeah, that's pretty normal, blah 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 blah. And then, like I say, then I ended up in the Dixie. It's like we were maybe going to Branson at that time. Like when we were driving around the curve and stuff and looking at the RVs and the water. It's like we were traveling to Branson. But I don't know if this was just a separate piece or what. But anyway, I think it was part of the scenario. I just can't remember if it was after. Because it almost seemed like it was after the scenario, after Dixie Stampede. But anyway, I was just stunned to see that when we were going around the curve, and like I say, it was all virtual reality, and very vivid or whatever. Okay, so then I had this other experience. I mean, you wouldn't think it would be fun, but it was still very fun. And okay, this other experience, it was on the same morning, I think, as far as I remember. Well, actually, maybe it wasn't on the same morning, but it was close to October 28th. And it's like I was going to get, this is all OBE VR Lucid Dream. I was going, and like I say, it lasted very, very, very long, but I'm going to try to talk about it in 5 minutes. So it's like I was, it's like I was going to the DMV to like pay it. I was going to the DMV to get like my tags or but in the scenario it was almost like driver's license. Like I was going to the DMV to get my driver's license, but it really should have been going to the DMV to get new tags. Because, well, I guess Joel knows that my tags are expired or whatever. Like, I don't give a shit. I'll wait about another year and then I'll get them up to date in about a year or two. But anyway, yeah, so in the scenario, it's like I was going to get my driver's license, though. And so it's like, but this whole DMV was just like a warehouse, like a bottom floor warehouse, and really tall. It was all concrete floor. The ceilings were really, really, really high, and there was just a couple tables set up over to the far left corner. There was just a couple tables set up. So like I walked up there, and there was like a sheriff. And he said something like, I got to take your driver's license from you because he thought he thought I was drunk. Yeah, he thought I was drunk, so he took my driver's license. And then there was another guy that really was drunk, and so he took his driver's license. And then, but like I say, it lasted a long time. And then eventually, like some of my coworkers came inside, and I went over there to a small little 2-person table, and I sat down, and I was gonna talk to one of my coworkers, and then like another coworker came and sat down, and I was like, wait a minute, I was gonna sit down there and talk to her. But anyway, so it was all kind of fun and everything. And then there was another table I walked over to, and there was like a woman and like 3 men sitting there, and we were talking about how we gonna get our driver's license back. Well, eventually the sheriff gave me my license back because he realized I wasn't drunk. But the other guy really did lose his license because he really was drunk or whatever. But anyway, I'm sure I'm forgetting a little bit because this was a pretty long scenario. But yeah, so, and the guy that, lost his driver's license, he was still sitting there, forever at the table. And I was saying, well, I wasn't really drunk or whatever. And then it's like the sheriff came up to us and kind of apologized because he knew that he shouldn't have taken my driver's license from me. I know where the aliens got. I know where Joe probably got this from too, because my brother lost his. He lost his driver's license in real life, and he's trying to go get his. Yeah, so that's why Joe put that in here about the driver's license. But yeah, but it was fun and everything. And I swear, it almost seemed like I did eat some stuff. Yeah, there was another part of the scenario. I did eat something in the scenario, and I can't remember what it was. This DMV scenario, because I'm always eating now in my scenarios, and I want to say it was pizza or something, but I forgot that part. But this scenario, to the DMV warehouse, I ate something, and I can't remember what it was. But I think it was pizza. But anyway, okay, well, thanks for listening.